Morning everyone, it's Ian from DIY Home and Gardening. Calling from a different location today. I normally do a garden for a lady, have been for a number of years, and today she asked if I could sort out her rose, or it's a climbing rose, James Galway, which is David Austin type. She hasn't, well, she planted it probably about 10 years ago, never pruned it. The only bit of work it's had done has been this year when I've started doing the garden for her, or garden again I should say. So I originally planted the rose, about 10 years ago. Anyway, enough ramble. So today I'm going to start setting out to do some proper framework, which consists of putting vine eyes in, running wire, and then pruning and training. So I'll talk you through. Just excuse the noise because there's people next door having the trees cut, but I'll try and pick the moments. So let's go. The job today, start work on making the training wires, or setting up for the training wires for this climbing rose. Believe it or not, it should be a climbing rose. So the plan is to string cable from that side through to there. So first thing is to start marking out for putting in the rule plugs. As a concrete post, they tend to be reinforced, but generally not to the top section, so I always come 10 centimeters down, and then spacing from downwards 30 centimeter gaps. So marked out. Now I'll start drilling. So we've got rule plugs there, the vine eyes. Rule plugs take a 6mm bit, so new 6mm bit. Drill all set up. You see it's on the hammer drill section, so good to go. There you have it. So I got the first pole, post drilled. Can't find the hammer, so bit of wood, just knock them in. So get this post done and then do the next two, and then we'll be ready to put the vine eyes and wire up. So I got the first of the vine eyes in. Obviously you see that it's in nice and tight because it's splayed the rule plug, and it's wound in. Let me show you on one of the others. So it's wound in so it's beyond the screw point, so you want it kind of halfway between where the threaded bit is and the top of the shaft. That way it's going to get nice and strong, and you only want the wire to be sort of a centimetre or so away from the post. Don't forget you've still got clearance between where the wire will be and the fence panel, so you end up with probably inch and a half of gap anyway, so perfect tying distance. So one done, just another 15 to go. Don't know if you can see, but all the vine eyes are now in. There's 15 in total, spaced at the 30 centimetre spacing. Now, to make it easier to get the wire through, I'm now going to untie all the bits of the climber. Right, now the task of how to start pruning back. So basically when you start looking at pruning the climbing rose, anything spindly like that, well, that's not going to be any good for making a framework with. So I would always suggest anything thinner than pencil thickness you want to aim to remove, and by that you literally leave a small spur, not very long, to a bud and snip. Make sure obviously your secateurs are nice and sharp, clean at the blade. Don't want to pass on any infection, so we just work our way along the stems, as I've been doing, so that you end up with nice clean cuts, until we get to framework and work out whether this piece is going to be kept or not. We end up leaving it as it's a nice sturdy section, as when it's sort of twisted in place that might become a decent piece of framework. Likewise with any of these established pieces, we'll maintain those but take the tops out, and where you end up with a multi-branch section, snip it and try and stay focused whilst it bounces. You see there's a bit of damage there, so we'd remove that, and then that is your finished piece. If when we get to doing the tying in, this piece has to come out, that's not a problem, because you can see it's had an element of damage or wear in the past, so that would be a contender to take out. But for the time being, we'll work our way along and take out any stuff you don't want. Start with your dead, diseased, damaged wood, followed by your spindly growth. Then once we get to the tying stage, we'll then look as to which pieces are going to be retained and which are coming out to make your framework. So let's carry on. So here's the classic section, which really wants a little bit of clarification. So you got growth of year 1, growth of year 2, year 3, year 4, and then year 5. So you can see that the owner of the house hasn't done any maintenance on the rows for 5 years. So there's not much point to take it back to there, or to there, or to there, or to there. In my mind, well, you could take it back to there, so you're undoing 4 years worth of damage. But otherwise, what you could do is just cut straight down to here, which is what I would tend to do. So you can see you've got a nice strong bud there. You could cut to there, and then that will encourage plenty of decent growth once you've got your framework in. For the time being though, I'm going to make a cut here, so we're undoing 3 years worth of bad pruning. And then once we actually start working on the framework, which more than likely that branch will go that way, we'll make a decision as to whether we retain this spur and allow for next year's growth to then come off this branch and then tidy up the following season. So you always got in the back of your mind as to what you're trying to achieve, what I suppose neglect you're trying to undo as well. A bit like with these, these bad bits of pruning. So on that you can see to the top there, got damage where insects have obviously got in, so you've looked to make a nice clean cut down here again. And same with some of these other bits, you just want to tidy up, and obviously once we get pruning and tidying, you'll remove some of this damage, not necessarily this year but in subsequent years. So yeah, I shall carry on. Another classic piece for you. So you can see we've got a dead stem there, which is certainly dead, nice and brown. Follow the stem all the way back, so you can start seeing we've got changes in the stem coloration. So it's got that darkened look to it. You can see just by looking at it, it's not a healthy green like some of the others, but when you get all the way down, here's the reason. You can start seeing the bark has split. Have a look around here, it's got damage around there, so apparent difference between this section and this section, so the damage has been done at the base level. So with that, it might seem harsh, but we'll just take that whole section out. That way you're getting rid of the root of the problem. Put it all out. We're not going to waste any time tying in the stem that is essentially dead or dying. So that's what we mean. Let's get you got to be a little bit ruthless. Don't forget that roses, like with most plants, nice and robust, so removing something like that is going to be more beneficial than actually keeping it, and it'll grow back with improved vigour and reward you. That's all cut back, all the side spurs cut back as far as we want to at the moment. Don't forget, once we start tying it onto the wire, then getting the framework in place, then your opinion may change and you may want to remove some other pieces. So at the moment, this is prunes back, leaving potential for further pruning. Well, I'm sure you can all pretty much tell, but we're no longer daylight, we're now in the dark. So the lady I was doing the work for had failed to get the wire for actually tying up, creating the strain, so I've come back tonight. Well, it's only 5 o'clock actually, but it's dark, so I've already run the wires in, and now I'm going to start trying to tie the rows up. So yeah, it's a bit harder by not a lot of light. I've got one solitary light to work with. It's not impossible to do it, you just have to use the force a little bit more. So here goes. So it's difficult to show you at day and dark, but what I'm doing, bending the stems so they're less than horizontal with a slight arc, always with an arc, so it breaks your apical dominance, encourages upward growth, so you end up with shoots going up, and also more flower as you're restricting the sap. So yeah, tie your stems in, tight but loose, as I always say, so using the thorns on the stem to anchor in place, and just get your bends in place. Anything that's a little bit too long or won't sit right, you can always cut back. So we carry on. Right, so I'm back here in the daylight. It got just too dark to carry on, but that's what I started the other night, tying in, and now I've got that last section to go. So it's going to take a while, but need to get it done today. So now you can see we've got some of the main framework in. You can then start using the rose itself to tie onto. So where you want to manoeuvre that piece, obviously we haven't got a normal supporting wire in between, and we want it to bend slightly upward, so we can then fix this stem onto the main branch, and then make the cut back to that little joint there, so that gives you your continuation, and you lose a little bit of a scrappy end and you get it tidied at the same time. Right, so we've got this stem here, it's upright at the moment, and you can see how much bend it's got. So the plan is we're going to get it right the way down to this bottom here, so it will manoeuvre with a bit of bending and tying, and we drop it all the way down. It's a bit awkward because there's a spire here. Right, I had to come back to the filming because I needed 2 hands, but you can see I've managed to get it in a real bend, and just going around a couple of times with the string gives you enough tension but without digging into the actual stem to enable you to get it how you want. And so now it just becomes a case of twisting these stems to get the looping right. So that's what I'm going to carry on. Right, here's the final shot then. It's not too terrible. On the whole, I'm pleased with it. There are a few sections in the middle, the really old stuff that actually the shaping's not particularly great. You can see there where I've had to do a couple of extra strains just to pull it down, and also this section here where again just gone from vinyl to vinyl with the heavy duty wire just to try and pull this main frame in. But remember, this is year 1 essentially of me tying this one in. Same with when you try and tackle your own ones. The first year is obviously starting off your framework, and then you'll be building from that. So obviously next season, as you get some good growth, you can then tie that in, and that will essentially that'll be sort of some substitutes for perhaps areas that you're not quite happy with at the moment. So that's it. So all I can say is thanks for watching. Hope you found the video of some interest, some use. Perhaps it'll give you a bit of confidence to get out there and to try tackling your own climbing rows. Yeah, after all, just have fun. That's what it's about. experiment, see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, then just try again, try something different. But keep trying, and your roses will look better for it. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, send me any messages you want, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.